Welcome to Channel AMAC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested in migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side so once by all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Alright, today's video I would like to, I just noticed that I haven't really done a 485 post-study work visa for a while, and obviously we have noticed that there has been some change, and the change is not pleasant. It's basically dropping the eligible age from age 50 down to 35. Anyway, in this video we would like to cover every single items or clauses or criteria required to actually make a graduate work visa. That's for any international student come to Australia to study all any courses and the pathway leading to actually get you a work permit, and you can reside and stay in Australia a little bit longer just to accrue your work experience and perhaps skill migrate later on. Before we go on, first of all, it's a very popular type of visa because we know that a lot of other countries has actually copied what Australia has done, and whether Australia copy theirs or they copy Australia, but either way it's a very popular visa. So we can see that Canada has a similar visa, and I noticed that the length of the visa is similar as well. You can see the actual application fee is quite cheap compared to Australia. Australia's visa charges is actually very high in compared to any other countries, but they're still very popular. A lot of people still wanted to come to Australia because it's just an attractive destination. We gotta face the fact the climate and everything in Australia is just, in comparison, much better than Canada, New Zealand and UK. So well, US is quite big, but there's US issue is different. Now we can see that post-study work visa for New Zealand as well, they're quite much more expensive, but still not as expensive as Australia. So it gives you up to 3 years, and so was UK provides a similar, gives you like 2 years, and you need to study a certain courses to actually meet the requirement and so on and so forth. But this is just letting you know that it's a very popular type of visa that all the different nations around the world is giving out to the newly graduates, because the newly graduate, the skilled migrant, actually produce the best economic outcome compared to their skill, talents, and the length that they're going to contribute, they're going to work in the economy. So that's why they are giving this opportunity for a temporary graduate visa, and which also gives the international student graduates an opportunity to access to pathway, perhaps through into employment sponsor visa or to general skill migration. So that's not our topic today, but we'll discuss the detail of the temporary graduate visa. So as you can see right here on the right there, the basic eligibility, you have to be age 35 or under. That means you can be 35? Yes, you're age 35, but you gotta be under as well, so it cannot be 36. So if you turn 36 tomorrow, then dang, that you won't meet the requirement. There's some exceptions. We'll talk about exception later. Exceptions is well, generally it's for the research graduates, and there's a group of people from passport holder of Hong Kong will actually have that exception there. Holding eligible visa, that means any eligible visa, held a student visa at least 6 months. That means once you graduate, you get 6 months to apply. If you wait for 12 months, can you do it? If you have graduated 2 years ago? No, of course not. You gotta have student visa 6 months prior, and have a recent qualification in CRICOS registered course. So you gotta study something that is registered under for international student purpose. You cannot just come to Australia and with for example, a traveler's visa and study a short course. It just won't meet the requirements. Apply for eligible stream, and we're going to talk about the stream down there. There are actually 3 streams there. Now we talk about. We'll go into every one of them and just get you through. So what is the post-vocational? They basically changed the name a couple months ago. The contents did not really change much. And there's a post-higher education. So vocational, that means you study all the TAFEs, VETs. As you notice, we have not been recommending this kind of courses because you probably can't even complete it because your student visa will be refused at the beginning of your student visa application. So that, but not talking about it in the future. I've done a video previously talking about who will be actually meeting, perhaps meeting the criteria to actually get a vocational student visa. But if you luckily get that these will be the pathway. Unfortunately, they will give you 18 months rather than the higher education. They give you 2 to 3 years. So difference is there. We talk about detail later on. And there's a second post higher ed. So there is no second post-vocational. So if you study vocational, there is no second visa, but they give you second higher post-higher education work stream, and we'll talk about how the detail there as well. Now let's jump into detail. The first of all is the post-vocational stream. It gives you up to 18 months. Here we go, 18 months, and you can see the cost is a lot more. It's the most expensive visa compared to all the post-work visa around the world. And the must, you have 35 years. Let's jump into eligibility. It's quicker rather than reading through all this together. So you got to be at this age, 35, or be under 50 if you are Hong Kong or British national overseas. So British national overseas is basically for the old Hong Kong citizen, where they used to be issuing with the UK passport back then. So that's all for the Hong Kong citizens. Okay, so you can be under 50. Otherwise, you must be 35 or under. That means 35 is included. Okay, have this visa. So you gotta have any visa. And you are in Australia, hold eligible student visa, not supported by Defence or Foreign Affairs Trade Minister, held student visa within past 6 months, and you have applied. For example, some people is waiting for their graduation. They apply for visitor visa short term and they get a bridging visa A or B, so that will be eligible as well. You held student visa within 6 months, so that means you have graduated as an international student 6 months within the 6 months period after you your graduation. To be eligible, you must have completed your course within 6 months. So that's why there's a 6 months period there. You got to meet an Australian study requirement. That basically saying that I know it's bulky. It's basically saying that you at least study 2 years in Australia. If your study course length is less than 2 years, unfortunately, you probably won't even meet the Australian study requirement. Then obviously, you will not meet. So some people come to Australia, study 1 year course. Yes, that you can do that. But would you get a post-graduate visa? No, you won't, because you have not met Australian study requirement. Have study qualification in Australia needs. So there is a skill occupation list. Now it's due to be updated very, very soon. And your skills has to be within these skill occupations. So there's coming up changes, a radical change to remove ENSCO. So I don't know how that will go, but it will soon be out there, and you still got to be in that occupation list, and you must do a skill assessment. All right, so if you're not that means you don't have to have it completed, but you need to show that your skill assessment has been apply. You have to submit the skill assessment there. For passport English language, if you're a passport holder of UK, USA, Canada, New Zealand, or Ireland, then you don't need to do English. Otherwise, you will need to pass this English test. So the English requirement for the post-vocational IELTS, you require to have meet at least 6.5 with a minimum score of 5.5 in each of 4 parts. Now that is just a little bit higher than what it required in the previous 485 visa. Previous 485 visa, I believe, was average 6, not average 6.5. So it's a little bit higher. Again, they're raising the bar, not just from the age, but raising the bar from the English requirement as well. And all the other corresponding English tests that you can take, so PTE, TOEFL, and things like that. So generally in Australia, most of people were taking either IELTS or PTE, because that's the two most popular English tests in Australia thus far. Now, for the Hong Kong passport holder or Hong Kong citizens, it remains as the same as previous. So at least 6, as you can see, that's the previous requirement there. So just a little bit there. Now you need to have a health insurance for sure. Meet the health requirement. That means you go to attend a medical examination. Character test, you need to apply for Australian Federal Police checks. Just ensure that you haven't commit any criminal conducts during your as a holder of student visa. You need to tick and sign the Australian value statement and no debts to Australia, and you have not been certain cancellation or things like that. So that's for the post-vocational, and it's similar to post-higher education. So the only differences here is that they give you a longer visa, 2 to 3 years, okay, and there is no require of the occupation list. So as long as you study a bachelor or any higher education degree and graduated, and within that 6 months of graduation, you will be deemed to be able meet the criteria to lodge this post-higher education work stream temporary graduate visa. Again, the age, all right, 35 or any under, 50 if you are Hong Kong citizens, or you have studied master research or doctoral. Now this actually makes the advice. I mean, not advice. I mean, I think it's fair to say that because previously they didn't say anything about study research or PhD, because a lot of PhD students are 30 or 35 above. So this is fair for those researchers to come to Australia, and they will still be able to lodge for a 485 visa. Now again, this is the same. You need to have a eligible visa or a student visa prior. Hold a qualification degree. So that means you need to be graduate from bachelor. Now they're also including graduate certificate and graduate diploma. Previously, if you only graduate from these 2 certificates, you are not to be able to lodge to 485 visa. You also need to study 2 years, so that meeting the Australian study requirement, and studying Australian education provided. Well, for sure. I mean, if you meet Australian study requirement, why would you be able to study elsewhere? I mean, I don't understand why this clause is there. Have studied in Australian education provider. Oh, for sure. If you meet this, that means you meet this. So I'm not too sure why this is here. It's redundant by means. English, same thing as what they require for post-vocational. So for people study vocational, it's actually hard, because usually the vocational English entry requirement it's much lower than higher ed, but when they graduate, they need to meet the same requirements. So that's IELTS 6.5, the overall score with a minimum of 5.5. And if you're a holder of Hong Kong passports or citizen, overall 6. That will be it, and the rest is the same. There's not much of difference there. Now, the last but not least, it's the second post higher education work stream. So everything stays the same, but if you are meeting this requirement, you got to be 35 age or under. That means if your first 485 visa was granted when you were 33, for example, and you get 2 years, right? You get 2 years, and then you'll be eligible. But if you're 34 when you granted with the 485 visa, then when you hit that 2 years, you you're above 35, right? You're 36. Then you won't be, even if you meet all the other requirements, but your age won't meet that criteria there, okay? Under 50, if you're a master research or Hong Kong passport holder, have these visa. So this stream is only available for you already have a first temporary graduate visa, okay? And that's the higher ed stream. We're granted to replacement and so on and so forth. Obviously, this is the second one. So the visa that you're holding while you apply for a second 405 visa has to be a 405 visa already. Okay, that's what they try to say. Have studying Australia education provider in designated regional area. Here we go. That's the thing. That's the differences. If you have chose to study in Brisbane, Sydney, or Melbourne, I'm sorry. The second 405 visa has nothing related to you. These are all for people who study in designated regional area. So that will be Adelaide, Hobart, Perth, Darwin, and North Queensland, so on and so forth. And once you graduate, you continue to live in the designated regional area. Okay, you got to show that you a lot of people they graduate from Adelaide and then they move to Melbourne. Can they meet the second 405 visa criteria? The answer is no. So there's some detail there. Basically, the category 1, Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, so it's not eligible. Okay, and the category 2, they talking about the designated city major city, so not eligible. So you'll see those detail there. I'm not gonna go into detail which postcode is regional or not. But anyway, there's some area that's very, very regional. They give you extra 2 years. You wanted to find that out by yourself, but that will be somewhere like Darwin. Okay, work and studying designated regional area again, and then the health and requirement character is all the same as the previous other stream. So here we go. That's for the most updated 485 visa criteria for you. And should you have more questions, query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below. And I'll see you next video. Goodbye.